All right, I'm Jim Zioli, here with Trevor Feldmann, talking about some of the old implements in the Farm Museum at the fairgrounds. I'm standing in front of a McCormick Deering grass seeder. The seeder was used whether you were going to plant grass seed to grow for a hay crop for your livestock, or if you were going to grow grains. In the old days, a lot of the farms, they grew all their own grain as well as their hay for feed, and whether it be barley, oats, wheat, they were all seeded with a unit like this. Usually the farmer in this particular case rode behind the hopper box on a seat that hung out back here so that they could watch to be certain that the grass seed was falling in all the shoots. And then as modern times moved along, they've developed into 30 and 40 row units instead of a 12 or 15 row unit. And in New England, you don't see much grain growing anymore, but it is coming back with actually all the inspiration of the craft brewers are causing demand for grains to be grown in New England again. But that's one of the many pieces of equipment they had to use in order to grow their grass and grain crops. Once it was seeded, you would use a piece of equipment like that horse-drawn mower back there, and that would be pulled by a team of horses, and that with that little 4-foot bar would take all day to cut a field that guys cut in an hour now. And once it was cut, then it was left to dry, and as it started to dry, they would ride on a piece of equipment like this called a tedder, and this tedder was pulled also by a team of horses, and that would go along and fluff the hay up, pick it up off the ground so that you got air circulation in it to dry it and make a nice quality hay product, and that could be put away and stored for the winter. If you were using for your grain, you wouldn't use the tedder because you wouldn't want to shatter all the grain heads, but you would still could use that same mower to mow it down. Manure spreader was a very vital part of the farm. There wasn't so much commercially available fertilizers for people back then like there are now, and the animals used to do all the labor on the farm, whether you used oxen or horses or you had a herd of cattle or other livestock, all that manure was used to enrich the soil from which the crops were grown. This manure spreader is a very ancient one. It even has a wood bed chain in it to carry it back to the beaters and all on it. These are a pretty unusual but extremely vital piece of equipment in their day. It saved a lot of manpower out there in the field doing work, spreading piles and piles of that manure to help enrich the soil. It was extremely important piece of equipment. Another one, we talked about mowing the hay and all before. You have a dump rake, a sulky dump rake back there. That was a huge improvement over the bull rakes, hand rakes that they had to use to pick up the hay so that they could load it to bring it in the barn to put it away for the winter. And those were used if you mowed a field north to south when you were mowing the field. When you raked it east to west, because as that mower went along, it was laying the grass down in a north to south manner with long stems. So then by raking it, you went east to west, and all of those tines on there, spaced about 4 inches apart, picked up all that long stem grass and dropped it in windrows. And the farmer became pretty adept at knowing when to hit the foot pedal, which lifted all those hoops and created long rows of hay that they then picked up with a different piece of equipment, a hay loader, whether pulled by horses then or then in later years by tractors. But so that's another piece of the entire process of the grass making process to feed their livestock over the winter. But all of this in here has been preserved and getting harder and harder to find, and hopefully there's going to be people that are going to watch this video and be able to talk about it after I'm long gone, I guess. That's it.